This is Shay and Ryan Duffy with Duffy Homes Real Estate Team. We're out here on beautiful Table Rock Lake. And on that note, we want to talk about some things to consider whenever you're looking at buying lake property. Lake view versus lakefront, boat slip versus boat dock, private dock.
Yeah, so one of the things to keep in mind is, Table Rock Lake is a man-made lake. It's owned and operated by the Army Corps of Engineers. So technically, nobody privately owns any lakefront property. It's all federal government. So if you have a property that you're looking at that says lakefront, it ends at what they call the Army Corps take line. There's an imaginary line that separates the federal ownership from private ownership. With that being said, even if you have lakefront property, you're not allowed to clear down to the water. That's federal government property. You need permits, you need permission, very hard to get. But if you have a property that butts up to the Army Corps take line, you can apply for what's called a vegetation permit. It allows you to clear out some of the underbrush up to a certain diameter. Also lets you get a what they call a path permit. It allows you to create a 6-foot wide meandering path to the water, as long as you don't have any permanent improvements. So you can't be pouring concrete or anything like that, but you can snake in a path and cover it with gravel or mulch or flagstone. And the purpose for that is to avoid lakefront erosion. You know, if you cut a straight path down to the water, every time it rains, all that mud and silt and all that's going to go right in the lake and murky things up. So
because of that, lakefront doesn't always mean lake view. Unless you're perched up above the Army Corps take line, chances are you may be lakefront, but you may not have a lake view. Every now and then we get those properties that have both lakefront and lake view. Best believe you'll pay for that.
Call those unicorns.
They're
hard to find. Yeah.
But they do come up.
Mm-hmm. Another thing to consider is boat slips, slip access, dock access. We have a lot of people that are looking at the area for the first time and they want to know, can I put a dock on that land that I'm buying? Most of the time the answer is no. So the entire lake frontage is pre-zoned, predetermined by the Army Corps of Engineers, and there's an interactive map we can send you that goes right to the Army Corps website that shows you how it's all zoned. And if you have what's called red zone property, that's where you're allowed to put a private dock. Very rare. In most instances, people that are buying in the area, they're buying a slip in a community dock that already exists, or they're leasing a slip from a marina. There's a number of public marinas in the area. That's what we do ourselves. It's just it's a yearly fee. The marina takes care of the maintenance and everything else, and you just basically pay rent for a place to park your boat. So if you're looking at property in Table Rock Lake, don't expect to be able to just buy any piece of lake frontage property and put a dock on it, because it is all highly restricted. Now this is kind of a double-edged sword. You know, a lot of people look at it and like, that's kind of a pain in the butt. You know, I can't just do whatever I want with the property. I agree, that's kind of a pain in the butt. But the flip side of that is we don't look like Lake of the Ozarks. If you look at a Google map aerial shot of Lake of the Ozarks compared to Table Rock Lake, apples to oranges. Lake of the Ozarks, every inch of that lake frontage you could put a dock on, there's a dock. Here, I mean, just look around. Look at all the natural, undeveloped beauty that we have on our lakeshore. It's because it's controlled and regulated by the federal government.
And our water is much cleaner.
And our water is much cleaner. Yeah, Table Rock Lake is consistently voted one of the cleanest bodies of water in the United States.
Also, what's an advantage to a community slip versus an entire dock is cost and maintenance. Typically, you just pay $300 to $500 a year for the maintenance portion of it. That covers insurance and electric for your lift and maintenance, moving it in and out of the water whenever the levels go up and down.
But you have to purchase that slip. And so those privately owned slips, they're a commodity. 2 or 3 years ago, you can get a 10 by 24 slip for what, $20,000, $25,000? Now, in today's markets, we're seeing $50,000, $60,000, even $70,000.
The starting price is usually $35,000. Right now it's 2022. But it depends on what part of the lake you're on. Slips over in Eagle Rock are less expensive than slips right by Indian Point.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were to buy a slip, if you can find one in a community dock, expect to pay anywhere between $35,000 and $50,000 to own that slip, plus yearly maintenance fees. If you're going to be leasing from a marina, depending on the size of your slip, anywhere from $1,500 a year to $2,500 a year is what you can expect to pay. But then you're not going to have any maintenance fees, and not to worry about, you know, pulling it out of the water as the lake level rises and falls.
And then lastly, if you have a private slip, you cannot rent it out to other people. The only boat that can be in that slip is yours. They do enforce that strictly. The Army Corps of Engineers, it's not better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. It is definitely the other way around.
Yeah. So a lot of people that are investing in short-term rentals in the area, that's another question we get: is if we have a private dock on the property, can we rent that out to our guests? Absolutely not. If you do that and you're caught, the Army Corps of Engineers won't just slap you on the wrist. They'll take the permit away from your dock, and that dock is gone. So don't expect to be able to do that. The only entities on the lake that can rent slips are marinas and resorts. If you do happen to be lucky enough to find a private dock on your rental property, you can let your guests use the dock as a swim platform or for non-motorized vehicles. So we have seen some clients that purchase vacation rental properties with private docks. They'll just stock it with canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, and floaties. And then you can alpha that. That is an amenity. You just can't let anyone put another boat in there.
So all that to say, while we don't always love some of these restrictions as residents, they do help keep our lake peaceful and beautiful, and this is by far the best place to live in the world.
Hands down.